Very good evening to all of you. I hope all are doing well and the preparation is also going well. Today, let me talk about the recent amendment with respect to registration chapter. The new rule 10B has been inserted. What is the rule 10B? Rule 10B says that in case you will be you will be eligible in the following case only when your Aadhaar is authenticated. That point, filing the application for revocation of cancellation of a registration. Today, we will talk about what is the cancellation process and one, how to apply for revocation if the number is being cancelled by the officer. We'll talk about, but the point is, in case of the revocation application, if your Aadhaar is authenticated, then only you can file the revocation application. Second, filing of the refund application in the form RFD01 for accumulated ITC. And third is refund for IGST paid on the goods for export out of India. So the two category, the two category are related to refund. Two categories are related to refund. One is the refund of accumulated ITC given in the rule 89. And second is the refund of that IGST paid on the export of the goods out of India. And first, we will talk about filing of the revocation application. And these two parts are covered in the refund chapter, which is in the final syllabus. So the point is, what is the rule 10B? Rule 10B talks about that according to the section 25(6)(a), that every registered person shall undergo Aadhaar authentication or furnish the proof of the Aadhaar number in the specified manner. In case of the proprietorship, the proprietor, any partner, karta, managing director, any of the member of the managing committee, trustee in the board of the trustee in case of the trust. Consequently, amendment by virtue of the insertion of 10B have been made in Rule 23(1) refund provisions. First proviso to the 25(6)(a) provide so that in case Aadhaar is not assigned to any taxpayer, any registered person, then there would be the alternate and viable mean of identification. Correct. What is the mean? That such manner has been prescribed in the rule 10B. What is the manner? If suppose I am registered person, I am existing registered person. At that point of time, the Aadhaar was not applicable. When I was filing the application, it was not mandatory. Now it become mandatory, or now the provision talks about the Aadhaar. Suppose I do not have any Aadhaar, then what to do? The rule 10B provide the manner that her or his Aadhaar enrollment ID slip, bank passbook with photograph, voter ID card issued by the Election Commission of India, passport or driving license. But such person shall undergo the authentication of Aadhaar within a period of 30 days. This is the first change, and there is a second more change we will already covered. You know that yesterday in the last class we have discussed that 40 lakh ka limit is not applicable in certain cases if you are doing the business of pan masala, tobacco, correct? In that list, the following item is added. Following more line item is added. Fly ash bricks, bricks of fossil mills or similar earth, building bricks, earthen or roofing tiles. These item has been added in the list. Which list? Pan masala, tobacco, ice cream, which are not eligible. The enhanced limit, which is the enhanced limit, sir, 40 lakhs. I hope this part is clear. Now, third thing, extension of the time limit, we will discuss at the time of revocation. These are the three amendments. Fine. So, we have completed section 25. We are going to section 26. It's talk about deemed registration. Deemed registration means if I am registered under CGST, should I take separate registration under IGST also? The grant of the registration or the UIN number under SGST or UTGST or SGST shall be deemed to be the grant the registration or UIN under the Act. So one has taken registration that will be deemed the registration in all other Act. Section 27. A special provision relating to the casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. The certificate of registration issued to the casual taxable person or non. See, let me talk about certain points for the casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. Then we will read. See, casual taxable person, almost same provision are there for the non-resident taxable person. Casual taxable person is a person. Casual taxable person is a person who is, for example, he is Mr. A is registered in the Maharashtra and he like to come Delhi and like to participate in trade fair, and from where I'm using the word from where he are making the taxable supplies. In that case, from where he is making the taxable supplies, in that case, he has to take registration in Delhi, but he does not have any. My voice is not clear. Voice is clear or not, sir? Kindly confirm. Voice is clear or not? Kindly confirm. All part clear hai, but so casual taxable person does not have any fixed establishment in the state. In my example, like Delhi. So what is the option? He can register as a casual taxable person in the state of Delhi, and then only he can make a taxable supplies. The point, remember section 22 subsection 1. Remember section 22. Remember section 22 subsection 1. What is that? 22 subsection 1 says that you need to take a registration in the state from where you are making a taxable supplies. Important word, from where. Important term, from where. So for example, Mr. A like to come to Delhi, and from where he like to make a taxable supplies without registration, it is not possible. Assuming his aggregate turnover exceeds threshold limit. Then what is the option with him? The option that either he can take a regular registration, which is not possible because the first reason, he does not have any fixed establishment. Second reason, is coming for temporary purpose, only for 5 days or 10 days. What is the use of the regular category of registration? In that case, section 27 is the another option. He can register himself as a casual taxable person. And important points, we are discussing certain important points. First important point, that you have to make application in the casual taxable person 5 days in advance. Suppose I like to start the business from 5th of July, I have to make an application 5 working days in advance. Point number 1. Point number 2, whatever the advance tax liability on estimated basis I have to pay, then only registration would be granted. Point number 2, I have to pay the GST on advance. How I can estimate? How I can estimate that how much I will make the supply? At the time of application, they are asking estimated turnover and estimated tax, which I need to pay. Third point, that this registration is valid for 90 days. This registration is valid for maximum 90 days, which can be further extended 90 more days. Repeating again, when I am making the application under casual taxable person category, it says that from which date and to which date you want the registration. Maximum I can select 90 days. Further, if I like to extend, yes, I can extend only one time, another period of 90 days. I can do the supply only when I have the registration. I can make the taxable supplies only after certificate of registration. All provision are same. I have to pay the advance tax on estimated tax liability. If I am asking the extension of another 90 days, I have to again pay the GST on advance. I have to pay the GST on advance basis. Again, I have to give the estimated turnover on which I have to pay the GST on advance for further extension of 90 days. Whatever the amount which I am depositing, let's say Mr. A is coming to Delhi and he is depositing, it will be credited to the electronic cash ledger. And how it will be utilized? It will be utilized in the manner which we have discussed in the ITC chapter, chapter 49, subsection 5. I hope you all remember 49.5, rule 88A, 49 capital A, 49 capital B. All the provision of setting which we have discussed in the same manner that will be utilized. This is the revision. We have already yesterday discussed. Let me quickly talk about under the analysis. Let me quickly touch upon the important point once again. Effective date of registration. If I make the application within 30 days, then the date on which he become liable to take registration. Whether advance tax is paid before the commencement, yes. At the time of application under casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person, when I am filing the application of registration, at that time, once I select casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person, they give the table estimated turnover and estimated tax liability. I can submit the application only when I deposit the tax. And please note that is on estimated basis. It will be lying in my electronic cash ledger. After the completion of the period, I will file my return. And if there is further taxes to be deposited, I will deposit. Or some excess taxes like I can take the refund. Dhaneshwari, I hope it is clear. Now, if I am making the application within 30 days, then the date on which I become liable, that will be my effective date of registration. And second, in case of the casual taxable person, at least 5 days prior to the commencement of the business. Dhaneshwari, you were not there in the ITC chapter. You were not there in ITC. Section 49 we have discussed. What is the difference between ISD and CTP? So CTP have understood. We'll discuss about the ISD. We'll discuss about ISD. I can take one registration per state, or if I like to take more than one registration in the state, answer is yes, you are permitted to take more than one registration within the state for every additional place of business, no problem. Earlier, there was some problem. Earlier, there was some restriction. That restriction has been removed. It means, for example, I'm doing the business in UP and I have the one place of the business in Noida, one place of the business in Kanpur. I have the option can take single registration in which I will disclose one address as a principal place of the business, let's say Noida, and second place as an additional place of the business, let's say Kanpur. And second option, If I want to take a separate registration for Noida and separate GST registration for Kanpur, that is also permissible, even for the same business vertical. I'm using the word same business vertical. Separate registration, that point we have discussed. We'll discuss subsequently. Composition levy in case of the separate registration for multiple places of the business. That is the only point that I can take if a person paying the tax for one of his place of the business under normal. See, if I am going for the composition, then one important point that all the registration under that pen, all the registration under that pen, all the registration under that pen should be under composition. You cannot choose different categories of the registration. For example, for some registration, I like to take under normal category, and for some composition not permissible. If I am applying the composition, all should be under composition, or if I am switching from composition to the normal, then all should be converted from the composition to normal. Puja 26.1 is simply saying, if I am registered under CGST, it will be assumed that you are registered under SGST, IGST, because suppose I have taken the registration. So should I have to, because I will charge CGST and SGST in interest rate supply, and in case of the interest rate, I will charge IGST. Yes or no? Puja, yes or no? If I am taken the registration, so my file would my file would be with one officer. That officer can be of the CGST or can be of SGST. Once I have been granted the registration, let's assume that my file is with CGST officer. It will be assumed that you are registered under SGST. It will be assumed you are registered under IGST as well. There is no separate registration required under CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, compensation. No. One registration will be deemed to be the registration under all Act. So, miss, let me ask the same question at the end of the chapter. If ISD is not covered, I will explain in short so that for your doubt clarification, but that will not be important for exam. Let me go step by step according to the study material. If one like to take the voluntary registration, obviously, yes, he can take a registration. Distinct person, one pen, multiple GST, PAN number is mandatory. UIN number, what is the UIN number? What is the UIN number? Any specialized agency of United Nations organization or multilateral financial institution and organization as notified under United Nations Act, consulate or embassies of the foreign countries is required to obtain the UIN. And the main purpose of UIN is to take the refund. And one more point, if you read the definition of the registered person in the GST, if you read the definition of the registered person in the GST, that will not include UIN. It means UIN is not the registered person. You need to see that foreign embassy, etc., need to obtain the registration under UIN category, but UIN category will not be considered as registered person. So if we talk about penalty, provision, prosecution, wherever the word registered person is there, that will not applicable on UIN. So motor registration yesterday, last class we have discussed. Now we are moving to the procedure for registration. Now that is important. So now, what is the procedure for registration? So let me go to the website of government. What is the website? www.gst.gov. Correct. And here you will find register now. Once you click here, register now, then you can see that there are two options coming. First is new registration. Second is Goods and Service Tax Network. What is the full form of GSTN? GST, Goods and Service Tax and Represent Network. New registration or temporary reference number. What is the TRN? We are coming to that. First, for example, Mr. A like to take a registration, then he has to select IM. Which category like to take registration? Taxpayer, regular category, tax deductor, TCS e-commerce operator, non-resident taxable person, which we just now discussed, United Nation body, foreign embassy, UIN, consulate, UIN, other notified person or non-OIDAR. So I have to select one category. Then which state? We all know that GST is the state-wise registration. We all know that GST is the state-wise registration. So therefore, I need to select the state, and in the state, where is the district? For example, state, let me select Delhi, and in Delhi, I am having the presence in East Delhi. Legal presence. So legal name. In case of the proprietor, the PAN number, which I am writing here, whatever the PAN number, in case of the proprietor, I will mention my name. For example, I like to start the business. So I will write my permanent account number and my PAN number, email ID and mobile number. Last captcha code, and then need to proceed. What is that? This is the part A. This is the part A. Once you submit the part A, the whatever the PAN number you have entered or name you have entered, it will be verified through CBDT. The backend, the system, GST system is interlinked with the CBDT. It will be verified that whatever you have entered, legal name and PAN number, that is correct. And second, email and mobile number. First time, separate OTP will be sent. Separate OTP on the email and separate OTP on the mobile. First time you need to enter email and mobile number OTP separately. And once you submit, it will be successfully verified, means part A is completed, and they will issue the temporary reference number TRN. It is valid for 15 days. What is the use of the TRN? Now, once you receive the TRN, you will click on the TRN, enter the TRN number, captcha, it will give the OTP. Now this time, the OTP would be same on mobile as well as email. You need to enter, then proceed. Once you proceed, then you have to enter the part B, which need to be completed within 15 days. What is the part B? What is the part B? Part B, what is the details of the business? What is the principal place of the business? What is additional place of the business? Who is director, partner, karta, trustee? So according to the category, you need to select. You need to enter. What is the HSN code? What is the SEC code? HSN code means Harmonized System of Nomenclature. SEC means Service Accounting Code. Suppose I am supplying the goods. I will enter HSN code of the product in which I am dealing. Suppose I am providing the teaching services. I will enter the SEC code of teaching services. Accordingly, maximum 5 categories of the goods and 5 categories of the services can be given at the time of application. So now moving to the institute material, let me complete. So now you have some practical exposure, practical idea about the GST portal also. What is the part 1 and what is the part 2? Let me talk about the question of Dhaneshwari. In case of the company, whose PAN number will be given? Company, obviously company. Other than proprietor, everyone has the separate PAN number. So if I have the HUF, there will be separate PAN of HUF. If I have the partnership firm, there would be the separate PAN of the partnership. So the legal name of the business and permanent account number, I will use that company's name or company's PAN. Not related to ongoing discussion, just wanted to ask whether any fees we pay for registration in GST for taking GST number while applying online. No, it's free of cost. Ayush, it's free of cost. So that part A, every person liable to get registered and person seeking voluntarily registration before applying the registration part A, they will complete PAN number, mobile number, email ID, PAN validated by the CBDT database, What is the meaning of A? A on the top of the website. Mobile number, email, and TRN number would be generated. Once the TRN number would be generated, then what happened? You need to complete the part B. What is the part B? That constitution of the business, jurisdiction, option for composition, date of commencement of the business, reason for obtaining the registration, principal place of the business, nature of activity, additional place of the business, bank account, authorized signatory, Aadhaar number, etc. So that you need to fill the detail in the part B. If you are going for the casual taxable person category, then they will ask advance deposition of the tax in the electronic cash ledger. Once you submit the part B, then application shall be forwarded to the proper officer. Application shall be forwarded to the proper officer. Now, see, what is the time limit to approve the application? 7 or 30? 7 days or 30 days? What is the difference? In 30 days, I am writing physical verification. Physical verification. See. And this is without physical verification. Other than CBD, can anybody verify the PAN detail? We have the database in the CBD, Central Board of the Direct Tax. So anyone who is verifying, let's say GST portal is verifying, or let's say sometime we are opening the bank account, then bank account is bankers also verifying. So how they are verifying? Their website is connected with the CBDT and their verification will be traveled to CBDT and then they receive the confirmation. Verification of the PAN would only be through CBDT website. What is the 7 days and 30 days? What is the 7 days and 30 days? Let's read. Important one. In case where applicant is going for Aadhaar authentication, he has validated successfully at the time of application, successfully validated his Aadhaar authentication. Then the time limit would be 7 working days. Time limit would be 7 working days. If either taxpayer, the person who is applying for registration, who is making the application, he has not opted Aadhaar, or he has opted but failed to undergo Aadhaar authentication. So suppose Mr. A making the application, the total time limit within which he need to do the Aadhaar authentication is the 15 days. When Mr. A will make an application, there is a separate tab. There is a separate tab for Aadhaar authentication. Once he tick that option, it means he has opted for Aadhaar authentication. Then he needs to do the verification within 15 days. So either he has not opted or he has opted but not completed the Aadhaar authentication in any cases. In these two cases, the number of the working days would be 30 and plus physical verification of the business premises. So what is the 7 days? That is important. Must remember and must write if the question is being asked. 7 days would be on application without site verification if the applicant successfully validated his Aadhaar authentication. And when 30 days, if Aadhaar is either not opted or failed to undergo the Aadhaar authentication, then it will be 30 days for approving the GST number. Next, suppose I have filed the application or Mr. A has filed the application. Then officer has the total time limit of 7 working days or 30 working days to approve. Within that, if they have any objection, they can issue the notice. So Mr. A has applied and suppose you are the GST officer. And if Mr. A gone for Aadhaar authentication, then you have the time limit of 7 days. Either you will issue the notice or after the expiry of the 7 days, it will be approved. So again, time limit of issuing the notice either 7 days or 30 days. Now, once you issue the notice, I will give the clarification, right? I will give the clarification within 7 days from the receipt of the notice. Either you will satisfy, then approve my application, or if you're not satisfied, then if you're not satisfied, or either I have not given the reply to you, then you can reject the application of registration for the reason to be recorded in writing. Shivam, it is very less expectation that you will ask that how to do the registration and completely theory. That question will not be so much important as I feel according to the past practice. But you should have the idea. Might be they can ask about the notice. Might be they can ask about the time limit to approve the application. That's it. But a long question will not never be expected. That is based on the past experience, I'm saying. Let me take about a couple of questions. Rekha, what is the meaning of, where it is, A plus A minus, is it? So I can zoom it, zoom out, slightly zoom in, zoom out. PPOB and APOB, what is, sir? Ayush, PPOB means principal place of the business. APOB means additional place of the business. So you have the one business that will be read. Suppose you have the one place of the business for doing the registration. Additional place will be applicable only when you have more than one place of the business. See, additional place of the business would be entered only when you have the more than one place of the business, then only. Otherwise, not applicable. You are not, but at least you have to require only one. One address would be there right now. So that address you need to write in the tab of principal place of the business. If you have other address which should be added in the additional place, then you can add. Otherwise, it is optional. I hope it is clear. Shivam and Ayush. Deemed registration or deemed approval of the application, it means if the applicant, if the officer is not approving within 7 days and also not issuing the notice or within 30 days, then it will be deemed to be approved. Correct. Either he will not approve within 30 days in case of the Aadhaar authentication not opted or failed to do the Aadhaar authentication. Time limit is 30 days or 7 working days in any other case. And suppose if officer has issued the notice, then also he is not approving within 7 working days. Once the clarification has been given, and within 7 days, if he is not responding on that clarification, either not accepting or rejecting, it will be deemed to be approved. What is the meaning of deemed to be approved? See, now the GST is fixing the time limit on applicant also, on registered person also, at the same point of time on the officer also. So on the officer, they are saying the application has to be approved first within 7 days in case of Aadhaar authentication, or within 30 days if not opted for Aadhaar or failed to do the Aadhaar authentication. Then the application, if it is no action has been taken within the 7 days or 30 days, it will be deemed to be approved. Third case, suppose officer has issued the so-called notice to me. I have given the clarification within the time of 7 days. Now, after the clarification, if again he has not approved within 7 days or rejected, then again it will be deemed to be approved. Deemed to be approved, even though I have not received the GST number, but it will be assumed that I have received the GST number. So that is altogether different process. So I hope it is clear. What is the meaning of without site? It means, for example, I have given this location. This location I have applied for registration, and I have applied for registration along with Aadhaar authentication. Then officer, GST officer will not come physically to check this site. Will not come physically to check this site before approving the GST number. Or if I am not opted Aadhaar or failed to do the Aadhaar authentication, then yes, officer will check physically and then approve the GST number. Is it okay? Sakshi. But sometimes notice में date and time limit show होकर आता है. Means, oh, see, The notice which is given to us, they are saying that you have to respond within this date, or you need to physically present within this on this date. So, suppose you are officer and you are issuing the notice to me for giving the reply. So you will mention how much time I have to give the reply, or you are giving the opportunity of the being heard. Means before taking any action, you like to hear me. So you will give the date. So there will be always date. There will be always time in case of the personal hearing. But I am saying I have given the reply. Whatever the time limit you have given, I have given the reply. But after that, within 7 working days, you have not taken any action on my GST number. Then what is the meaning? It will be deemed to be approved. Is it clear? If within 7 days application refused, if he has taken the action, either accept or rejected. If he reject, then okay. He has given the opportunity to me. I have explained the same, but still he is not satisfied. Then he will reject. Then what about the ITC if the GST number not received? Shivam, ITC, for taking the ITC, one has to be registered person. If you remember, we have discussed 16 subsection 1, every registered person. If you remember, 16 subsection 1 is starting with the every registered person. So it means unregistered cannot take the ITC except section 18, special case, which we have discussed. 4 transactions are there in 18.1, which we have discussed in the ITC chapter. Karthik has asked multiple doubt. Let me take one by one. So aggregate turnover is not to be considered for casual taxable person. Answer is no. In the section 24, we have discussed casual taxable person is falling under mandatory. Non-resident taxable person is falling under mandatory category of registration. Doubt 2. For paying the advance tax by CTP, can ITC be used? Before starting the business, there will be no ITC. So before starting the business, there will be no ITC. Once you file the return, if you remember 16 subsection 2, there are 5 conditions for taking the ITC. Correct? Na? Goods and services has been received, everything. And the last condition, recipient should file the GSTR 3B. So till the time CTP will not file 3B, there will be no ITC in that GST number. Question number 3. In section 23, page 7.19. 7. Does not include where it is written. I think I'm at the right place now. 7.19. Section 23, person not liable to registration, so not listed taxable person and exclusively in the business, not liable to tax or only exempted, not liable to provision understood the following. What is the SCN? Short name of so-cause notice. So what is the name of, what is the full form of SCN? So-cause notice. So whenever the department issuing the notice, it is called as so-cause notice. Karan batao notice. Means what is the reason that I should not reject? You tell me the reason why I should not reject your application like that. So-cause notice. Rule 10B not covered in May module. I have discussed Rule 10B. There is a separate amendment sheet, and I have discussed from there Rule 10B. It is a separate amendment sheet. It is not covered in the study module also. Shivam, this is in the separate sheet amendment. A statutory update for the November 22 examinations. Shivam, is it clear? Your question is clear? So not able to, that does not include the related. I'm not able to understand. Doubt 4 is the section 24 in clause 10. The word person in this clause is referring issue. Please confirm. In the clause 10. So clause 9, clause 10. Yes. You are talking about clause 10, section 24. It means 9 subsection 5. You are talking about 9 subsection 5, is it? Karthik, if I'm not wrong, you are talking about 9 subsection 5. And in the 9 subsection 5, they are talking about the e-commerce operator by which the services has been rendered and were considered as a deemed supplier. Yes. Now moving to the, we have discussed the deemed approval. Okay, Aadhaar authentication, we have discussed everything. So now you have to just read the theory, it's theory, but certain, so there is a 15 days I have to complete the Aadhaar authentication, correct? Where Aadhaar authentication is not assigned. So I have given that what is the alternate mechanism to do the Aadhaar authentication. So with this point we have discussed, yes, this might be important for short question that who are relaxed from the Aadhaar authentication. A person having notified in this regard, a person who is not a citizen of India, department or establishment of the state government or central government, local authority, statutory body, PSU, person for UIN under section 25 subsection 9. These are relaxed from registration for Aadhaar authentication. Now I am talking about rule 10A, furnishing of the bank account. Srinivas, till I received GST number, I could not start the business. Then a temporary number is provided. There is no concept of temporary number. I hope you are talking about the casual taxable person. Otherwise, suppose I'm talking about the normal category, I can do the business. Suppose today is my date of liability, I can do the business. Within 30 days, I have to make an application. So for that, there is a concept of revised invoice. We will discuss in the next chapter. We will discuss that concept of revised invoice. Repeating again, Srinivas, Mr. Srinivas, I can start the business. Suppose today is the date by which I become liable to take registration. My turnover crossed the threshold limit. Whether I have to stop the business and wait for registration? No. I should make an application within 30 days. And once the Aadhaar number is received, then I can obtain all the ITC of the prior date of the liability till date of registration. I have to issue revised invoice. Just wait for some time. ITC concept we have discussed in the 18 subsection 1. Concept of ITC we have discussed in the 18 subsection 1. Only the remaining concept, that is revised invoice, we will discuss in the next chapter 31 subsection 1. Rule 10A. Rule 10A saying that while making the application, you are not required to give the bank account details in most of the cases. Once the number is received, GST number is allotted to you, you receive the certificate of registration, then within 45 days. Within 45 days from the date of the grant of the registration or due date of furnishing the return, whichever is earlier. So within 45 days from the grant of the registration or due date of furnishing the return, whichever is earlier, I need to furnish the bank detail. That is the rule 10A. However, this relaxation, what is the relaxation? Not to give the bank detail at the time of application. What is the relaxation they are talking about? Which relaxation is not available to these category? The relaxation is giving the bank account detail at the time of application. What is the relaxation? Instead of the bank account detail at the time of application, they can give the bank detail after the registration within 45 days. What is the time limit? 45 days from the date of the grant of the registration certificate or the due date of the furnishing of return, whichever is earlier. But relaxation is not available. TDS deductor, TCS collector, or suo motu registration by the department, they are mandatory required to furnish the bank detail at the time of application of registration. Physical verification of the business premises, we have discussed. Rule 10 is talking about issuance of the certificate of registration in REG 06. Showing the principal place of the business or additional place of the business, etc. We have just in the last class, we have discussed that total digit is 15 number, 15 digit, 2 digit, starting 2 digit represent a state code, like for example, Delhi 07, Rajasthan 08, UP 09, Haryana 06, likewise. Then next 10 digit is the permanent account number. 2 digit is entity code. Last is checksum character. Rule 18 talk about that certificate has to be displayed on the name board. So it should be displayed at the prominent place of the business and every additional place of the business, principal place of the business as well as every additional place of the business on name board, etc. Effective date of registration, rule 10. What is the effective date of registration? If I am, see, try to understand this. Suppose Mr. A was liable to take registration on 1 July 2022. It is date of the liability, liable to take registration. I am writing DOL, date of liability to take registration. And he has made an application within 30 days. If he has applied within 30 days, let's say on 28 June, he has made the application for registration. And certificate of registration is being granted on 5th of July 2022. Certificate of registration is being granted on 5th July 2022. Please understand. Please understand. I will discuss the same line in the revised invoice also. Same example in the revised invoice also. And in the effective date of registration. What is the effective date of registration? Suppose on particular a date, I become liable to take registration mandatory. Either because of section 22, my turnover limit crossed, or because of mandatory registration under section 24, casual, taxable, etc. any reason. Then not casual taxable person, because casual taxable person have to make an application in advance. Other category. Then I have to make an application within 30 days. Within 30 days. Then assume that I have made the application within 30 days and certificate actually is being granted on 5th July. What is the effective date of registration? The effective date of registration will be 1st June 2022. I hope Mr. Srinivas, you have received your answer with more clarity. Now I hope you have asked the question. Now you have the answer with more input, with more clarity, with example also. Can't I do the business? You can do the business, but only that you have to make an application within 30 days. Here I am talking about mandatory registration. Suppose I have not made the application within 30 days, then date of the certificate. Suppose I have applied on 2nd of July. Instead of 28 June, I have applied on 2nd July 2022. And certificate is being granted on 5th July. What is the effective date of registration? This is 5th July. Prabhas, do I need to quote my TRN on my invoice till I get GST number? No. You can, you not, but that is not nowhere mentioned in the GST Act. It is nowhere mentioned in the GST Act that till the time you are not getting the GST number, you need to quote the TRN. No. If you read the rule 46, which is talking about the content of tax invoice, rule 46, wherein they are asking about the GST number of the supplier and the GST number of customer. Excellent. Rekha, you have absolutely correct. You have absolutely correctly understood what is the use of the effective date of registration, which I was about to explain, but you have already answered. Appreciated. So Rekha, absolutely correct that you are saying what is the use of the effective date or where it will be used. Date of the liability will always be. Date of the liability will remain same. Date of the liability will remain same. Only point from which date you can take the ITC. From which date you can take the ITC, that is effective date. You can go back and revisit to the ITC chapter section 18 subsection 1. You can revisit to the ITC chapter section 18 subsection 1 and specifically clause A. Let's do the illustration. Let's do one illustration. Another example of the effective date of registration. Why another example? So the another example is only now I have to give 2 dates. So say I have to give the 2 dates now. See, first date of the liability. Let's take 1st July. You are not happy with the June. You are not happy with the June. Let's take 1st July. Suppose my turnover is crossed threshold limit on particular this date. So I need to apply. I have the time limit till 30 days. Suppose I have applied on 25th July. Is it within time? Is it within time? Answer is yes. So whenever the certificate would be granted, but my effective date of the registration would be 1st July. Suppose I have applied after 30 days, then date of the certificate would be the effective date. What is the question? Penalty charged or not for registering after 30 days? So, well, that is not our syllabus, Sneha, but answer is no. If not registered, then penalty is there under section 122, but we'll discuss in the, I think it is covered in the final chapter, we'll discuss over there. What if the business is not started and the person want to register under voluntarily, then what is the commencement date? Then date will be date of actual issuance of the certificate, date of the certificate. So I am not liable. Suppose I am not liable to take registration mandatorily, either 22 or 24. Voluntarily, I like to take registration. Then what is the effective date? Date of the grant of the certificate. Effective date of registration 1st August, 5th November. For which? Oh, already you are okay. You are giving the answer. Wow. So determine the effective date of the registration in respect of the following case with the proper explanation. See, this point is very, very important. Which explanation you are giving, that is important. Aggregate turnover exceed 40 lakh on 1st August. Varun Industries manufacturer LED TVs in Mumbai and sell them in Pune. It submit the application on 20 August. Certificate is being granted on 25th August. What is the effective date? Kindly all give the answer. Kindly all give the answer. What is the effective date in this case? Sir, are you practicing as a tax specialist? CA? Absolutely correct, Rekha. I am doing the practice in Delhi. I am doing the practice in Delhi. Absolutely correct. I am practicing chartered accountant. And very much thankful to the institute for giving this opportunity to interact with all of you. Shivam is saying obviously 1st August. No problem. Sweta Infotech Services is providing the internet services in Pune. Its aggregate turnover exceed 20 lakh on 25th September. It submit the application on 27 October. What is the effective date of registration in this case? What is the effective date of registration in this case? Do not forget to give the comment or explanation with respect to threshold limit. Do not forget to give the comment to exceed the threshold limit. Comment for the taking the registration under section 22. He is making the supply from Mumbai to Pune. Both are in Maharashtra, within state. Within state, na. So it means you have to give that particular 40 lakh ka reference. You have to give 40 lakh ka reference. What is the explanation? As per section 22, subsection 1, read with that notification. If not remember notification, no problem, but remember the provision correctly. Remember the provision correctly. If you not remember the provision correctly, then there is no use of section. So if you are making the intrastate supplies of the goods, then what is the threshold limit? 10, 20, 40. The threshold limit for making the taxable supply the service or goods plus services. What is the threshold limit? 10 and 20. Now you will say he has to make an application within 30 days, and then you will talk about the effective date of registration. Why 25th? Why you are saying 25th? If you not make the application within 30 days, what is the effective date of registration, date of the grant of the certificate? Sneha, Pooja, Hitesh. The date of the grant of the registration, that is 5th November. Ayush, please always remember, date of liability would remain same. Date of the liability would remain same. It cannot be said that in the second case, Sweta Infotech is making the application after 30 days. So effective date is the date of the grant of the certificate. That is 5th November. But he has to pay the tax for all the supplies on or after date of the liability. He is not relaxed from date of the liability. He is not relaxed from paying the taxes along with interest. He has to, in both the cases, that assuming that 20th August is the, sorry, 1st August is the date of liability, and not assuming, it is clearly written 1st August and here 25th September. They have to pay the taxes. In both the cases, person has to pay the taxes on or after this date. Only that here the effective date is 1st August. So therefore, he can take the ITC benefit on or after 1st August. Here, they can take the ITC benefit on or after 5th November. I hope it is clear. Rekha, absolutely correct. You have to write the provision first. But let's see that what is the requirement of the question. But in short or in detail, depending upon the question requirement, but you have to write the provision always. Shreya, I think you are giving the answer. Sushil, the correct. Rekha, correct. Shivam. No. Shivam, right. Absolutely correct. Ayush, is it okay? Everyone, kindly confirm any question. If you have, please ask. Any question if you have asked, please, if you have any question, please ask. So CTP, casual taxable person, we have discussed. Casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person. Yes. Validity period. CTP and NRTP, we have discussed, that is valid for 90 days. It can be extended by further period of 90 days by making the application before the expiry of the first 90 days. Advanced deposit of the tax, we have discussed. Scheme registration, we have discussed. Now we are talking about section 28. Now we are moving to the section 28. What is that? Amendment of registration. Now we are talking about amendment of registration. Section 28 talks about amendment of registration. Suppose some detail is being changed. Let's say address is changed, or bank detail is changed, or director is changed, email ID changed, mobile number changed. So you have to update the certificate, correct? You have to update the registration certificate. How? You need to make an application. There are two categories of the amendment. One is core field and one is non-core field. Core means important. What is the core field? Name of the business if there is no change in the PAN. Aggregate turnover per annum. Sakti, refer to subsection 6. Section 2, clause 6. Aggregate turnover PAN India on annual basis. So there are two categories of the amendment, or two types of the amendment. One is a core field and one is non-core field. But coming in the core field, name of the business if there is no change in the PAN. Why they are writing if there is no change in the PAN? My dear friend, if the PAN number is changed, you have to surrender existing number and take the new registration. Repeating again, let's say Mr. A expired due to the COVID. His son, Mr. B, like to continue that business. Whether he can continue under the same GST number? No. Why? Because Mr. A permanent account number and Mr. B permanent account number would be different. He cannot continue with the same GST number. A's GST number has to be surrendered and B has to make an application of the registration. So when there is no change in the permanent account number, but yes, business name is changed. Suppose, for example, Mr. A was doing the business in Maruti Industries Limited. Now he's saying that Maruti Suzuki Industries Limited. There is no change in the PAN, only the name is changed. Yes, you need to make an application in the core. Stakeholder, promoter, partner, director, karta is changed. Principal place of the business and additional place of the business. Other than change in the state, can anybody let me know? Can anybody clarify why they are writing other than change in the state? For example, I am registered in Delhi. I have the one additional place of the business in Kanpur. Can I add in Delhi GST number? Please confirm. I am doing the business in Delhi. I have one registration. I have one additional place of the business in Kanpur, UP. Can I add that location in my Delhi GST number as an additional place of business? Kindly confirm. You are very active in the chat. Thank you so much. I am registered under Delhi. I have the Delhi GST number, but I like to take one additional place of the business in Kanpur. Can I register Kanpur location as an additional place of the business in my Delhi GST number? Answer is no, because GST is the state-wise registration. That is the reason they are saying other than changing the state. And rest all the field like email ID, mobile number, everything would be under the non-core field. In case of the change in the core information, the taxable person will apply for amendment within 15 days from the date of the event. Whenever the particular event is happening, then he has to make an application within 30 days. Within 15 days, the proper officer will approve the amendment within next 15 days. So Ayush, now it is clear, correct? So I have not understood. Institute has understood what is your question. So they have given the question or they have given the clarification. Suppose in case of the non-core information, there is an amendment. Important one, no approval is required. No approval is required. No approval is required. It means once you file, it will be approved. But yes, if there is a mobile number change or email ID change, proper officer is physically approving that. In case of the core information amendment, in case of the core amendment information, they are taking the 15 days. You have to make an application within 15 days and officer will approve within 15 days. But yes, in the non-core information, there is no approval required. So, however, where change related to the non-core field, certificate shall stand amended upon submission of the information. Proper officer shall not reject the application of amendment without giving the opportunity of being heard. Ayush, just kidding, yaar. Just kidding. Nothing is. I never thought like that, yaar. You all are future, sir. You all are future chartered accountant. You can challenge me, sir. Ayush, you can challenge me. If you are challenging, then I will be more happy. I do not mind at all. So, what is the meaning of opportunity of the being heard? Opportunity of being heard, it means there would be the opportunity given to you. Suppose I have made the application. And Suppose officer is rejecting, they will give the opportunity. Why application is rejected? At least suno to sahi mujhe. Give the opportunity so that I can explain the reason. And if you still thinking to reject, you can reject, but at least give the time of hearing. Any rejection or approval of the amendment under CGST or SGST, UTGST will be applicable to all the act. Will be applicable to all the act. Any particular of the application shall not stand amended with effect from a date earlier the date of the submission or common portal except with the order of the commissioner. So that is okay. Application for amendment of the registration cannot be filled for change in the PAN because GST registration is PAN based. We have discussed Mr. A expired and Mr. B like to continue that business. One need to make the fresh application for registration in case there is a change in the permanent account number, where the change in the constitution of the business result into the change of the PAN. Meaning, suppose I'm alone doing the business currently. So I am the proprietorship business. Now let's say I am starting the new business. Let's say we are starting the firm and you have joined the partner. Then it becomes the partnership firm, right? So PAN number would be changed. Yes. So they are saying in case there is a change in the constitution and which result into the change in the PAN, then yes, I have to make a fresh application. The same GST number cannot be used. Similarly, application for amendment from form cannot be filled if there is a change in the place of the business from one state to the another state, because again, GST number is the state specific. ISA, in case of more than one business place, additional is in other state is added. No, sir. No. Suppose taking the example, I am doing the business in Delhi. I have taken one godown in Kanpur, UP. Can I add that godown in my Delhi GST number? Answer is no. Because you are having the GST number of Delhi. Within the state, whatever the place you have, you can add that. But if you have the separate state, we all know GST is the state-wise registration. So if you have taken the godown or if you have taken additional place in other state, you have to make a fresh application for that state. I hope it is clear. Core field amendment, we have discussed. Non-core, we have discussed. Time limit, etc. Again, deeming approval. If the proper officer failed to take any action within a period of 15 working days from the date of the submission of application or within a period of 7 days from the date of the receipt of the reply, then certificate of the registration shall stand amended to the extent applied for, and the amendment certificate shall be made available to the registered person on the common portal. Isha, kindly confirm, is it clear? Varun Enterprise, a sole proprietorship firm is engaged in the supply of the electric goods in Delhi. The firm is registered under GST. Okay. Varun is the proprietor of the firm. He wishes to expand his business and his friend Arun approached him to provide additional capital for his business if he made the partner. Now Varun agrees and changes the constitution of the business and form a partnership. So whenever there is a change in the constitution, result into the change in the PAN number, permanent account number, yes, then they need to apply new registration, because change in the constitution from sole proprietorship to the partnership result in the change in the PAN number of the registered person. The partnership firm has to apply for fresh registration. The reason for the same is the GST is the PAN based. Cancellation or suspension of registration and revocation of cancellation. Now we will read first. Now we will read cancellation of registration and revocation of cancellation. So cancellation, again here we will discuss section 29. We will discuss the cancellation can be applied either by the applicant or by the proper officer. When the proper officer can apply, when the applicant can apply, what is the permutation combination we will discuss. At the same time, We will also discuss what is the revocation process. Revocation means I received the order from the officer regarding the cancellation because of any reason. Now I like to activate that GST number again, which is being cancelled. I like to activate my GST number. So that is called as revocation. We'll discuss after the break. Let me talk about the question. Take the question, Pooja. But sir, under section 26, if you are registered under one of the GST, we are deemed to be registered under also, right, sir? So why do we? Pooja, again repeating, you have taken registration. Pooja, you have taken registration in Delhi, let's say ITO location. So your registration would be under some authority, na? Either CGST or SGST. Let's say your file has been with the CGST officer. Your file is with the CGST officer. Your file is with the CGST officer. Karthik, we have to read section 29 along with rule 21 capital A. New rule has been inserted of the suspension, and also they have added the proviso. So only from the heading we should not interpret, because we have to read the complete provision, then only we can interpret the same. That is the way of interpretation. Suppose, Pooja, you have taken the registration for Delhi ITO, then your file is being under CGST. If you make the supply, then you will charge CGST and SGST both now. If you make the supply within the state, you will charge CGST and SGST. Or if you make the supply from Delhi to another state, you will charge IGST. So that section 26 says that if you register under Delhi CGST, it will be assumed that you are registered under Delhi SGST also and IGST also. Within that state might be there can be the requirement that you have taken registration under CGST. Now you need to again apply for Delhi SGST. You need to again apply for IGST, because these are three different acts. So section 26 says that it will be deemed that you have taken the registration. You have taken the registration under CGST. It means it will be deemed to be taken the registration under Delhi with other act. But if you are changing the state, then you have to make a fresh application. What is the starting two digit? What is the starting two digit of the GST number? Pooja, what is the starting two digit of the GST number? It represents the state code. Suppose I'm registered in Delhi, it will always talk about 07. If I am taking the additional place in Kanpur, then it will not be 07, it will be 09. So therefore, the state is changed, I have to make the new application. Section 26 is talking about only within the state. Is it clear? Pooja. Shivam, absolutely correct. Change in the pen must apply. Kushi, it is your question or it is your answer? This is your question, or you are asking the question or giving the reply? Sakti, there is a problem in the voice. Is there any problem in the voice? So, अशोक जी 15 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं. We will resume at 7:30. Let's take the break of generated number. Okay, Kushi, thank you so much. 2 मिनट रुकिए. अशोक जी 2 मिनट रुकिएगा प्लीज. Sir, exempt supply includes supply attract nil rate, exempted by notification, no supply. So in section 23, whether a person engaged in exclusively supply which attract nil rate is liable to registration or not. Section 23 says, if you are making the supply which are not liable to tax or fully exempt supply, then you are not required to take registration. And fully exempt, so okay, I got your question. You have asked in the 7.19. I think this point you were asking now. Any person exclusively in the business of supplying that are not liable to tax or are fully exempt. If they are saying fully exempt from tax, it means fully exempt, fully exempt, it means both. Whatever the three things is being there in section 2 clause 47, whatever the three things is there in section 2 clause 47, definition of the exempt supply, exempted by notification, nil rated, that both will be included, and not liable to tax, that is non-taxable supplies, they are separately covered. So in my view, Karthik, in my view, it will include nil rate of the tax also. Pooja, sir, so with one GST, we can have the branches in other state or sir? No. For other state, once you go to the other state, you have to take separate number. One GST number would be only effective within the state. For other state, you have to apply the fresh GST number. Whenever there is a change in the PAN, whenever there is a change in the state, you have to go for the new registration. कार्तिक बस सिर्फ ये पूछ रहा हूँ आपका इंटरप्रिटेशन आया कैसे ये नील रेट ऑफ द टैक्सेस आपके माइंड में आया कैसे why it is coming in your mind just let me know ये आपके माइंड में कैसे आया how it comes or anywhere it is written whether it is written anywhere or I think you are taking from definition section 2 clause 47 out of 3 they have covered 2 so you are asking the third point is it just like to understand great so Karthik give the reply we'll see the reply after the break अशोक जी अब 7:30 तक हमारा ब्रेक रहेगा थोड़ा शॉर्ट हो गया ब्रेक 7:30 तक हमारा ब्रेक रहेगा एंड आफ्टर दैट वी विल स्टार्ट द क्लास अगेन ठीक है थैंक यू So now we are starting with the section 29, cancellation or suspension of registration and revocation of cancellation. So in which we will first talk about section 29, cancellation. Again, cancellation, either it can be on the application of the taxpayer on his own motion. See, either the proper officer may act his because of any reason, or any application received from the registered person, or from any of his by his legal here. Let's say Mr. A was doing the business and is expired, and his legal here filing the application for cancellation. In case of the death of the person, then officer will cancel the registration in such manner within such period as may be prescribed, having regard to the circumstances where the business has been discontinued or transferred fully for any reason, including death of the proprietor, amalgamated with legal entity, demerged, otherwise disposed of. So the business has been discontinued or transferred, including death of the proprietor, or there is a change in the constitution of the business from proprietor to partner, partner to private limited. As a result, there is a change in the PAN number. The taxable person is no longer liable to be registered under 22 or 24, either because his threshold limit is below, his actual turnover or aggregate turnover is below threshold limit, or he like to opt out from voluntarily registration, or one has applied for voluntarily, but now he is thinking that his turnover would not be crossed and he is not interested to continue that GST number on any reason. He can file the application for cancellation, or officer can also sue motu to cancel the registration. Now in the 29 subsection 1, there is a proviso. The proviso says that during the pendency relating to the cancellation, the registration may be suspended for such period and such time as may be prescribed. Fine. So, for example, I have applied for cancellation, and after that, there is, let's say they are taking time 7 days, 10 days, 15 days, 1 month. So till that time, registration would be suspended. What is the benefit of suspension? What is the benefit of the suspension? I am not required to file any return. I am not required to file any return. At least I am relieved from doing the GST compliances during the suspension. Now, subsection 2 is talking about proper officer may cancel the registration. So, proper officer alone can cancel the registration when? If any registered person has contravened the GST provision, or person paying the tax under section 10, that is composition levy, has not furnished the return for 3 consecutive tax periods, or any registered person other than the person specified in the clause B, it means regular registered person has not furnished the return for 6 months, for composition 3 months, and registered regular category 6 months. Voluntarily registration, one has taken the voluntarily registration and not started, commenced the business for within 6 months from the date of the registration, or registration has been obtained fraud, willful statement, suppression of the fact, etc. So let's revise again. In which circumstances officer can cancel? First, contravene the GST provision, any registered person. Section 10, not file the return for 3 months. Regular category, section 9, not file the return for 6 months. Next, if anyone has taken the voluntary registration, not started the business within 6 months. And next, registration has been obtained by fraud, willful misstatement, etc. They are saying registered person has contravened such a provision, not all the provision, such a provision as may be prescribed. So for that, we need to refer the rule 21. Which rule we need to refer? Rule 21. So rule 21 talking about which the list of the compliances, which if not complete, if not fulfilled, if contravened, then officer has the right to cancel the GST number. provided that no officer shall cancel or officer shall not cancel without giving the opportunity of being heard. Provided further that during the pendency registration may be suspended for such period, such time as may be prescribed. Very, very important. Cancellation will not affect to pay the tax or any other dues under GST or discharge any obligation under GST for any period prior to the date of cancellation, whether or not such tax has been determined before or after. For example, Mr. A was registered in the GST. Now he has submitted the application for cancellation and his cancellation application approved. He received the cancellation order. For the period prior to this date might be during the assessment, search, seizure, scrutiny. There is some liability arise against Mr. A. That liability Mr. A has to pay. It cannot be said that because the registration is cancelled, so he is relieved from liability. No. Whatever the taxes is there for the date till the number is active, he has to pay. It will not affect the liability of the person to pay the tax and other dues under GST. Under section 10, Karthik, under section 10, quarterly is required. So tax paid will be of 1 month or 1 quarter, 3 quarter. Karthik, 3 quarter. It means 9 months. The cancellation, same under SGST will be deemed to be the UTGST or IGST, CGST, etc. Important again. Every registered person whose registration is cancelled, shall pay amount. How much amount? How he will pay? By way of debiting in the electronic credit ledger or cash ledger. Equivalent to the credit. How much he will pay? Equivalent to the credit of input tax in respect of input held in stock, input contained in semi-finished or finished goods held in stock. Input contained in stock, semi-finished goods or finished goods held in stock. Whatever the ITC, GST ITC is lying in the hand equivalent to the stock, that amount has to be paid. Wait, or capital goods or plant and machinery on the day immediately preceding the date of such cancellation. So whatever the ITC is there on the stock, semi-finished goods or finished goods, or even capital goods. For capital goods, we have to apply the proportionate concept of Rule 44. You remember, we have discussed in the ITC chapter with respect to Rule 44, life to be assumed as 5 years of the capital goods. Suppose a set is being used for 4 years, 6 months, 5 days. We have to reverse the ITC or we have to pay the ITC of 5 months. Remaining period full in month. Remaining period in month, that to be month, full month, completed month, not in part. Or output tax payable on such goods whichever is higher, calculated in such manner as may be prescribed. So either actual output tax or ITC, whichever is higher. Provided that in case of the capital goods or plant and machinery, on which shall pay the amount equal to the ITC taken on said capital goods or plant and machinery, reduced by such percentage point as may be prescribed. Life of the capital goods is 5 years, and we have done the practical example in the ITC chapter. So I will not repeat the practical example here. You can refer that section 18 and Rule 44, which we have discussed in the ITC chapter. Again, that same things, See, whatever the amount, you remember 18.6 we have discussed. This is exactly 18.6. 18 subsection 6 is talking about comparison of two value. ITC reduced by certain percentage point or transaction value, tax on the transaction value, whichever is higher, we need to pay the GST. So I hope it is clear. So means Mr. A was shut down the business. Mr. A was expired because of the COVID. Now his legal heir like to shut down the business. If there is a stock, if there is ITC, that has to be paid to the government. You cannot take the refund of that ITC. You cannot take the refund of that ITC. Whatever the closing stock is there, whether it is a stock, semi-finished goods, or finished goods, or capital goods, reduce. In case of the capital goods, we will apply the proportionate concept. You have to pay the same or tax, whichever is higher. Now we are talking about the revocation. What is the revocation? Subject to the such condition, any registered person whose registration is cancelled by the proper officer. Very, very important. It means if legal heir or registered person himself filed the cancellation application and that registration is being cancelled by the proper officer, that cancelled GST number cannot be revoked. Section 30 subsection 1 says that only if the GST number is cancelled by the proper officer on his own motion, then may apply such officer for revocation of cancellation within the prescribed time and manner we'll discuss. One thing, make it clear that if the GST registration is being cancelled by the officer on the basis of application filed by the registered person or his legal heir, that number once approved cannot be revoked. Time limit is within 30 days from the date of the service of the cancellation order. So what is the time limit of revocation? Now the time limit of the revocation, I will write 30 plus 30 plus 30. What is the time limit of revocation? 30 plus 30 plus 30, total 90 days. 30 normal. If proviso says that on sufficient cause being shown and for reason to be recorded in writing, this 30 days can be extended by another period of 30 days by the additional commissioner or joint commissioner. Again, this further 30 days can be again extended by 30 more days by the commissioner. So if I talk about the revocation, what we have understood, first, revocation application can be filed only when the proper officer on suo motu cancelling the registration. Second, application has to be filed within 30 days. Third, this 30 days can be extended by another period of 30 days on the basis of approval from additional or joint commissioner on sufficient cause being shown, reason to be recorded in writing, and it can be again and last can be extended by the commissioner 30 more days. It means the revocation time limit is 30 plus 30 plus 30, total 90 days. Proper officer in such manner within such period as may be prescribed either revoke or reject the application, provided that application for revocation of cancellation shall not be rejected unless the opportunity will be given of hearing. So that is the principle of natural justice. Any adverse action to be taken against the taxpayer, officer has to provide the opportunity of being granted. Without listening, he cannot take the action against any registered person or any person. Again, the same deeming provision, revocation under CGST, SGST, UTGST shall be deemed to be the revocation under the act. Correct? In the analysis, we have discussed the cancellation situation. We have already discussed when the proper officer can cancel, we have discussed. Yes, we need to discuss the rule 21. We need to discuss the rule 21. In the rule 21, they are saying, see, in the section 29, subsection 2, what we have discussed, proper officer can cancel. Clause A, first clause, what is saying? That on contravention of such provision as may be prescribed. What is the being prescribed? Therefore, rule 21. What is the contravention? Does not conduct the business from the declared place. Issue the invoice or bill without supplying the goods or services in violation of the provision of the Act or the rules made therein. So, either issuing the fake invoicing or not issuing or fake invoicing, not supplying the goods or services. It means he is engaged, he is involved in the fake invoicing. Section 171, it is anti-profiteering provision. Anti-profiteering, just in short, I am explaining. For example, whenever there is a transition provision, let's say tomorrow the rate of the taxes has been reduced. I am supplying, say, this product to you at rupees 100. And on today, the rate of the taxes is 18%. Let's say tomorrow government has reduced the taxes from 18 to 5%. My final price should not be increased. So it means I have to reduce my final price. Let's say 100 plus 18, I'm charging 118. Now from tomorrow onward, I will charge 100 plus 5%. I cannot say my price would remain 118, it is inclusive of tax. Whenever there is any benefit arise to the supplier, it will be transferred to the customer. I am explaining in the short way, in the crux manner. That is a lot of things which we need to discuss, but in the final chapter. Whenever there is a benefit accrued because of the GST transition, either from pre-GST to GST or because of the rate reduction, this benefit has to be passed on to the consumer by way of rate reduction. If not passed on, in that case, it is which is in excess of the outward supplies declared by him in valid return under section 39 for said tax period. Means there's some lagging is there. Is it okay now? Kindly confirm, is it okay? So they are fine. So they are saying if ITC has been availed violating the provision of section 16, which we have discussed in the ITC chapter, what are the conditions or the rules made thereunder? And they are saying if the tax liability declared in the GSTR1 is more than the tax liability reported in the GSTR3B. Why they are saying so? See, it is section 39 or it is section 37. This is section 39, this is section 37. Why they are saying so? Because the tax has to be paid along with GSTR3B. So Mr. A has reported the actual tax liability in the GSTR1, let's say 1 crore rupees. But while filing the 3B, he is showing only 80 lakh rupees. In that case, he has to pay the tax on 80 lakh rupees. He has not declared proper or actual outward supply. Why? So that he has to pay the lesser tax. He has to pay the lesser tax. So if the GSTR1 furnished the details of the outward supply, which is in excess, the outward supply is excess, but outward supply reported in 3B is lower. And what is the reason? Because 3B we need to pay the taxes. So by this, the registered person is paying the lower taxes. So again, officer can cancel the registration, violating the provision of 86B. Violating the provision of 86B. What is the 86B? What is the 86B? 86B, I hope you all need to give me the answer because we have completed 86B. Let me again go back to the clause C, clause D, and clause E. Anti-profiteering provision. Anti-profiteering provision, it means if any profit arises because of decrease in the tax rate, so that reduction has to be go to the customer. For example, Mr. A was selling the pen in rupees 118. Suppose Mr. A was selling the pen at rupees 118 and there is a reduction of the tax from 18 to 5%. After the reduction in the rate of the taxes, still is saying inclusive of tax, the product is 118 rupees. There is a 13% reduction in the tax. Mr. A has to pass on this reduction to the customer. Whenever there is a migration, whenever there is a change in the or transition in the GST, that benefit which accrue to the supplier, either because of any additional ITC or reduction in the tax, that benefit has to be passed on. Is it clear? Akash, please confirm everyone that clause C is clear to all. Kindly confirm. Then I will go to the clause D. First, confirm that clause C is clear, Akash and everyone. Clause D, Rule 10A, nothing to explain. Nothing to explain. We have already discussed Rule 10A, that is furnishing of the bank account. If bank account is not furnished, then again GST number can be cancelled. Clause E, ITC has been availed by violating the provision of GST section 16. Suppose without receipt of the goods ITC has been taken, or there is no tax invoice but ITC has been taken, even though the same is not appearing into the ITC has been taken. So because of any provision was there which is not being complied and still ITC has been taken, number can be cancelled. Karthik, clause D is clear. And clause E is clear. Kindly confirm. Rule 10A, Karthik, Rule 10 is simple. We have discussed furnishing of the bank account within 45 days. And section 16 is also clear. ITC taken in contravention of section 16. Now tell me if is there any confusion. 86B, you all have given the correct answer that if the turnover taxable turnover exceed 50 lakh, except nil rated, non-GST, exempted, zero rated, then 1% has to be paid in cash. ISA has asked question that this provision are related to compulsory requirement of cancellation. No. I can say in the section 29 subsection 2, officer has the power to cancel the number when the provision of the GST Act or the rules is contravened by the registered person. So which provision? All provision? No. The provision which is being mentioned in the Rule 21. So these are the list of the contravention. If committed by the taxpayer or registered person, officer has the right to cancel the GST number. Is it clear? So Srinivas is asking clause A once again. Sure, no problem. Does not conduct the business from the declared place of the business. So Mr. A has declared that he is doing the business from ITO. During the search, they are saying there is no Mr. A at ITO. Only fake address is being reported. Actually, is not doing the business. So they have the right to cancel the registration. Now let's move to the further suspension. 29.1 we have discussed. 29.2 we have discussed. Now to be read with Rule 21A. So during the pendency of the registration of during the pendency of the cancellation, the number would be suspended. And meaning of the suspension, that taxpayer is free from routine compliances, including filing of the return, etc. The period and manner of suspension. When registered person is applied for cancellation of registration. So try to understand. So now we are talking about the period. Now we are talking about the period and the manner of the suspension is as follows. Where the registered person has applied for cancellation. Registration shall be deemed to be suspended from date of the submission or date from which cancellation is sought, whichever is later, pending the completion of the proceeding. Correct? Now, where the cancellation has been initiated by the department officer at his own motion, then what is the suspension? Where the officer has reason to believe that registration is liable to be cancelled, he may suspend the registration with effect from the date to be determined by him. So he will mention that from which date the registration is suspended. Where a comparison of the return furnished by the registered person under section 39. What is the return under section 39? GSTR 3B. The details of the outward supplies furnished in the GSTR 1 and details of the inward supplies derived based on the details of the outward supply furnished by his supplier in the GSTR 1. They are saying that where a comparison of the return furnished by the taxpayer under section 39. In this point, they are saying the GSTR 1 of Mr. A, GSTR 1 of Mr. A, GSTR 1 of Mr. A, and GSTR 3B of Mr. A. Here they are saying details of the inward supplies derived based on the details of the outward supplies furnished by the supplier in the GSTR 1. It means we are talking about supplier GSTR 1, which is auto-populated in GSTR 2B. So they are comparing the ITC. In the clause A, they like to compare the outward supplies reported in 1 and 3B. In the clause B, they like to compare the ITC taken with the GSTR 2B based on the auto population or such other analysis as may be carried out on the recommendation, so that there are the significant differences or anomalies indicating contravention of the provision or the rules leading to the cancellation of the registration. Then his registration shall be suspended. Said person shall be intimated in the prescribed form by sending the communication to his email address provided at the time of the registration or as amended from time to time. In this intimation of suspension and the notice for cancellation, the said difference and anomaly are highlighted and the said person is asked within a period of 30 days why the registration should not be cancelled. In case where the cancellation is initiated by the department on his own motion and registration has been suspended, such person shall not be granted any refund during the period of the suspension. So one point, please note down that during the suspension, the registered person will not be allowed to take the refund. He will not be granted the refund. Now, this is the suspension. What we are talking about? What is the period? The period and the manner of the suspension. The period and manner of the suspension. Anomaly means say differences is such that which indicate that there is a fraud, willful misstatement. There is some gadbadi. कुछ गड़बड़ी है, कुछ घोटाला है. There is some fraud. There is some malafide practice is going on. A registered person whose registration has been suspended as above. Now underline. These are very, very important. Shall not make any taxable supplies. So it means if the Mr. A registration has been suspended, he cannot make the taxable supplies. After that, they have given the meaning, even given the clarification of what is the meaning of not make the taxable supplies. They're saying that registered person shall not issue the tax invoice and not charge the tax. So in the suspension, he can continue the business. During the suspension, he can continue the business. So prima facie it appears he cannot make the taxable supplies. It means he cannot do the business. After that, it has been clarified, not make the taxable supplies means he cannot issue the tax invoice and cannot charge the tax on it and shall not be required to furnish any return. The suspension shall be deemed to be revoked. Important. Shall be deemed to be revoked upon completion of cancellation proceeding by the proper officer. Such revocation shall be effective from the date which the suspension had come into effect. The suspension of the registration may be revoked by the officer anytime during the pendency of the proceeding if he deems fit. Suppose he is thinking of some fraud, willful misstatement, and the taxpayer has given the clarification, he is accepted, then he can again revoke the same. Where I hope, Karthik, you have received the answer. I hope, Karthik, you have received the answer. Revocation can be of even suspension also. For someone who has asked the question. Hitesh, it means he can make an exempt supply. No. He can make the taxable supplies. Only part he cannot charge the tax. He cannot collect the tax. He cannot issue the tax. That's it. Where any order having the effect of revocation of suspension has been passed, the provision of 31(3)(a), which we will discuss in the subsequent class, a revised tax invoice, and section 40 first return, we all discuss in the subsequent chapter, shall apply. Procedure for cancellation, voluntarily cancellation. So I think the chart is there. We will discuss through the chart. A registered person seeking cancellation of registration shall electronically submit the application for cancellation in prescribed form within 30 days. He is required to furnish the application. In the application, the details of the input containing semi-finished, finished goods, etc. Most welcome, Karthik. Most welcome. Chalo. Coming back, he is required to furnish the application the details of the input held in stock or input contained in semi-finished or finished goods held in stock and capital goods held in stock on the date from which the cancellation sought, because he need to pay the ITC. Isa, he can do the business. Only part he cannot make the, or he cannot issue the tax invoice and cannot collect the tax from the customer. That's it. He can make the taxable supplies. He can do the business, no problem. Only part during the suspension, he cannot collect the tax. Okay. Orders where a person who has submitted the application for cancellation, the registration is no longer liable to be registered. Proper officer shall issue the order of cancellation within 30 days from the date of submission of application for cancellation. Suo motu cancellation, where the officer cancels the registration. He shall not cancel the same without giving the so cause notice. This is the short form of SCL. And without giving the reasonable opportunity of the being to the registered person. The reply to the so cause notice has to be submitted within 7 days of the notice. If the reply is satisfactory, proper officer will drop the proceeding and pass the order in the prescribed manner. However, where the person, instead of the replying to the so cause notice served for failure to furnish the written, see, important point. If the cancellation is initiated by the proper officer because of, in case of the composite dealer, non-furnishing the return for 3 quarters, or 3 months in case of the composition. No, it would be 3 quarters. Or in case of the regular dealer for 6 months. Correct. Contravention of the provision of 29(2)(b) and C. Then they are saying 6 months or 3 quarter furnishing if the registration has been cancelled by the proper officer, either by 6 months or 3 quarter, 3 tax period, then if the applicant furnish all the return if the applicant furnish all the pending return and make the full payment of the taxes along with applicable interest and late fees, the proper officer will drop the proceeding and pass the order. The proper officer will drop the proceeding and pass the order. Where the registration is liable to be cancelled, proper officer shall issue the order within 30 days from the date of the reply to the so cause notice. Effective date of the cancellation shall be effective from a date to be determined by the officer and mentioned in the cancellation order. He will direct the taxable person to pay the arrear along with interest and penalty, including the amount liable to be paid under 29.5. What we have discussed in 29.5? What we have discussed in 29.5? In the cancellation, the person has to pay the tax equivalent to the ITC or tax on the transaction value, whichever is higher. That we have discussed in 29.5 and 29.6. Correct. See, stock of the input and input contained in semi-finished, finished goods, ITC in respect of or capital goods or output tax payable, whichever is higher. Calculated in such manner as may be prescribed. It means they are talking about the rule 44. Suo moto means, Sushil, in the last class, we have also discussed proper officer at its own. अपनी इच्छा से cancel करता है. Not on the basis of your explanation. Not on the basis of your application, sorry. Sir, please explain first point under voluntarily cancellation in this rule 20 and 22. This one, Ayush, you meant to say this point. A registered person seeking cancellation of registration. So Mr. A like to surrender his GST, like to cancel his GST number, or Mr. A is expired his legal and like to cancel the GST number of his father, shall electronically submit online. There is an application of revocation for cancellation days. From which date occurrence of the event warranting the cancellation. What can be? Suppose the death of the proprietor or any other situation. So the online application has to be made within 30 days for cancellation and 30 days to be started from the occurrence of the event warranting the cancellation. Clear? So they are talking about the rule 40 for capital goods. We have talked about whichever is higher. 18 subsection 6. Remember, ITC in respect of the input contained in accordance with the rule 44 or ITC in the input computed proportionately basis on the corresponding invoice on which credit has been availed, whichever is higher. So the details has been discussed in the chapter 6, that is ITC chapter. If tax invoice are not available, one point, if tax invoice are not available, they are saying na ITC on the input computed proportionately on the basis of corresponding invoice. If suppose corresponding invoice is not available, then you will take the prevailing market price. Tax invoice are not available, ITC to be reversed based on the prevailing market price. Amount of the credit to be reversed in respect of the capital goods or plant and machinery, ITC in respect of the capital goods or plant and machinery to be calculated in accordance with rule 44. Life of the rule 44 talking about life of the capital goods is 5 years. So if the capital goods have been used 4 years, 6 months and 15 days, so it will be what is the remaining useful life in completed month, that is 5 months. So the ITC attributable, let's say total ITCC multiplied by 5 divided by 16. That ITC has to be reversed. Yes, Ayush, absolutely correct. Warranting the cancellation, death can be the one of the situation or one of the event. Other point about cancellation, a person to whom UIN has been granted cannot apply for cancellation. UIN holder cannot apply for cancellation. Cancellation will not affect the liability. So all the point, the cancellation under CGST, SCST section 26 will be deemed to be cancellation under other act. Once registration is cancelled by the authority, the taxpayer will be intimated about the same via SMS and email. Order for cancellation will be issued and intimated for the primary authorized signatory to the primary authorized signatory. The taxpayer would not be allowed by the common portal to file the return for the period after the date of the cancellation mentioned in the cancellation order. However, he can submit the returns of earlier period. Is there any restriction on the fresh application for GST? No restriction. Immediately after the cancellation by any of the two way? Any of the two way? Okay. So either by own motion of the proper officer or by the application, no problem. You can. Only that there is a requirement on the tax officer that he has to check the old GST number. If there is any dues, if any pendency, that has to be cleared, and only then new number to be allotted. That's it. Otherwise, there is no restriction. Now, let me talk about the revocation of the cancellation of registration, where the registration is cancelled on suo motu basis by the officer. Registered person may apply for revocation within 30 days from the date of the servicing of the order of cancellation. Set period of 30 days on sufficient cause being shown, 30 plus 30 plus 30. You remember the total 90 days we have discussed. When the registration was cancelled for failure of the registered person for furnishing the return. So on registered person has been cancelled, was cancelled for the failure of furnishing the return before applying the revocation, person has to make good the defaults. It means if the registration has been cancelled because of the non-filing of the return, then he can revocate, he can make an application of revocation only when all the pending return has been furnished, along with taxes, interest, etc. Now, that is the person need to file the return and amount of the taxes along with penalty, late fees, etc. However, the registration may be cancelled either from the date of the order. Now, this is very, very important. See, officer can issue the date of cancellation of date of the order of the cancellation of the registration or from retrospective date. See, the officer can issue the cancellation order in current date and cancelling the registration from current date. Then, because you are not filed the return, so here you have to make and you have to file all the pending return, then file the revocation. Or second situation, he can cancel your GST registration from retrospective date. Then you cannot file the pending returns at all. First, apply the revocation. He will approve. Then within the time limit prescribed, you have to file all the pending returns. So in that case, as we already seen, the common portal does not allow furnishing of the return for the period after the effective date of cancellation, but return for the earlier period before the date of the cancellation can be furnished after cancellation. In case of the retrospective cancellation, this point would be applicable. So from my side, so now ready for quick revision. Ready for quick revision. Everything is completed. Everything is completed. So that registration chapter is completed. I hope you enjoy the discussion. Let's start the quick revision. Are you ready? Kindly confirm. Are you ready? Kindly confirm. If removed forcefully, no, Bharat, I mean to say they will see there are two possibilities. Either registration has been cancelled in the current date. You have not filed the return, registration has been cancelled in the current date. So no problem. You need to file all the pending returns, then you can apply for revocation. Second, the registration has been cancelled, but retrospectively, let's say from 1 July 2017. Then in that case, you cannot log into the portal and file the return of all the period which is being and by which the return has been cancelled. By which the registration has been cancelled. You need to furnish all the return, then only you can file the revocation application. Suppose your cancellation has been made retrospectively, meaning thereby from older date, they are cancelling the registration. In that case, you cannot file the pending returns In case of the retrospective cancellation, so once it will be revoked, then you need to furnish all the pending return within the time limit prescribed. Is it clear? Quick revision is interesting, sir. Great, very great. So, fine. So by this, we will try to complete all the points of the topic which we have discussed today. So, once again. Thank you so much that you are liking this quick revision. Please tell me, first thing, please tell me what is the amendment with respect to Aadhaar authentication. That in three circumstances, if you not do the Aadhaar authentication, you cannot do these three activity. This is the recent amendment rule 10B. Let me give you the hint rule 10B. Let me give you the hint rule 10B. Now give the answer. Thank you so much, Susil, for your appreciation. I am giving the hint. Rule 10B is talking about three circumstances or three situations or three things which you can't do if Aadhaar is not authenticated. Please tell me one by one. Very important from exam point of view. Thank you so much, Karthik. The right answer is revocation of cancellation, not apply for cancellation. Revocation of cancellation. Second is refund of ITC, and third is a refund of taxes paid in case of the export. A refund of IGST paid or refund of accumulated ITC. First is revocation for cancellation. Clear? Let me talk about first the amendment. Please tell me, in case of the registration, we have talked about in case of the intrastate supply the goods, the limit of the 40 lakh would be given. But the limit of the 40 lakh would not be given if you are engaged in the pan masala, ice cream, etc. There, the four new line item, four new category of the goods has been added. Meaning thereby, if we are doing that, then the limit would not be 40, limit would be 20. Please tell me any one item. Please tell me any one item. I am talking about currently, I am talking about the recent amendment which is applicable for November 22 exams. Okay, Karthik, no problem, no problem. Great. One answer has been issued from Kusi. Great. What about rest of the participant? Please give the answer. Please give the answer. The right answer is fly ash bricks, bricks of the fossil mills, building bricks, earthen or roofing tiles. So you can refer the amendment, but it is very, very important. Can you tell me time limit to file the revocation? Third amendment, can you tell me what is the time limit to do the revocation? What is the time limit to do the revocation? What is the time limit to do the revocation? You all are not participating. I am hardly receiving, few participants are giving the reply. That is not appreciated. See, I am requesting every participant, you know the answer. If you don't know the answer, but you give the reply. Tell them, give the reply that no idea, sir. Not remembering, not able to recall. No problem, but at least I have to see all the participants are doing the discussion in the chat. Please tell me what is the time limit to do the, or what is the time limit to file the revocation of cancellation? What is the time limit to file the revocation? This is the third amendment, important from exam point of view. The right answer is 30 plus 30 plus 30, total 90 days. 30 normal officer, proper officer, and again 30 additional or joint commissioner, and next 30 commissioner. Great. Great. Very, very nice. No problem. Thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you so much, Ayush, for participation. Now we are talking about the casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. They have to make the application. What is the time limit to make the application for the casual taxable person category? What is the time limit to make the application for casual taxable person category or non-resident taxable person category? What is the time limit? What is the time limit to make the application for casual taxable person category? Please give the answer. What is the time limit? What is the time limit to file the registration application in case of the CTP category? 5 days prior to the commencement of the business. In normal case, it is 30, but in case of the casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person, 5 days in advance. Registration is valid for how many days? Their registration is valid for how many days? Registration of casual taxable person category is valid for how many days? The registration would be valid for 90 days. Maximum 90 days. Correct? Great. Maximum 90 days. Next question. If any person like to take 2 registration within the state for additional for multiple place of the business, if Mr. A has 2 place of the business, can he take 2 separate registration within the state or not? Can he take 2 separate registration within the state or not? Mr. A has 2 place of the business in the state. Can he take 2 separate registration within the same state? Can he take 2 separate GST registration within the state? Yes or no? Answer is yes. Kindly confirm whether my statement is correct or not. Kindly confirm whether my statement, which I am telling right now, is correct or not. Mr. A like to go for composition. He has 3 registration, 1 under normal category. He like to go for balance 2 registration under composition. Yes, he can apply for composition for balance 2 category, for balance 2 registration. Repeating the question, you just need to confirm whether it is correct or incorrect. Mr. A has 3 registration, 1 under normal for balance 2. He like to apply or he like to switch from regular to composition. Yes, he can do. This is my answer. Kindly confirm whether statement is correct or not correct. Whether statement is correct or not correct. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The answer is not correct. Under the composition, all the GST number either should be under same category, either all regular or all composition. You cannot choose different categories under the same PAN. You cannot choose different category under the same PAN. Excellent. Whether UIN is registered person or not. Whether UIN is registered person or not. Whether UIN number is registered person or not. Whether unique identity number is registered person or not. Great. He is not a registered person. He is not a registered person. Now tell me the answer. Now tell me the answer. If I have one location out of SEZ unit and one location in SEZ unit, can I have one registration or mandatorily have to go for two registration? I have within the state, I have one location in the SEZ, one location out of the SEZ. Mandatorily two registration, or I can have the one registration. Mandatory two, or I can have one and add second as an additional place of the business because state are same. Because state are same. The answer is mandatorily two registration. Can you tell me? Can you tell me if Aadhaar authentication has been done, then within how many days? Within how many days the registration would be approved? What is the time limit to approve the registration? What is the time limit to allot the GST number if applicant has done Aadhaar authentication? Thank you so much, Ayush, for accepting the same, but at least participating. Mandatory too. Yes, Prabhas, I am receiving your reply. I am receiving your reply. Absolutely, I am receiving your reply. So my question is, if Mr. A has applied the registration application and he has opted for Aadhaar authentication, then please tell me what is the time limit? What is the time limit to allot the GST number? Sanjay Jaiswal, hello, बताएं कुछ को question. What is the time limit? 7 days. 7. Please remember, along with 7, please write working days. Please write working days. 7 working days. 7 working days, and 30 is only days. See, 30 is only days, but 7 is the working days. Okay. And if Aadhaar not authenticated or failure to do the Aadhaar authentication, then 30 days plus physical verification of the place of the business. Correct. Can anybody tell me any one name who is relaxed from Aadhaar authentication? Any one name who is relaxed from Aadhaar authentication? We have discussed 5-6 names. Any one name who are not required to do the Aadhaar authentication, who are not required to compulsory do the Aadhaar authentication. We have discussed 5-6 category. Please tell me any one category. Please tell me any one category. Please tell me any one category who are relaxed from Aadhaar authentication. Any one name. We have discussed 5-6 category. NRTP, yes. Local authority, yes. Relaxed from Aadhaar, not citizen of India. Great. So person who is not citizen of India, state government, central government, local authority, statutory body, Karta is required. Sneha, Karta is required. Person having UIN number. Great, Kira. Great, Bharat. Karthik, not citizen of India. Shivam, non-resident. Shivam. Shamal, local authority. बहुत बढ़िया. Kushi, not citizen. Akash, not citizen. Shreya, not citizen. Yes, Karthik Gupta applying for UN. Correct. Great. PSU, public sector representative. Great. Can you tell me within how many days one has to apply for the bank account? One has to furnish the details of the bank statement, detail of the bank account. How many days, within how many days one has to give the bank details? How many days one has to give the bank details? Within how many days the taxpayer has to give the details of the bank to the in the GST portal. Within how many days banker detail has to be given? 45 days from date of the grant of the registration or due date of the return, whichever is earlier. The answer is 45 days. However, not available for TDS and thesis. Wow, very nice. If application has not been furnished within 30 days, if application of the registration has not been furnished within 30 days, what is the effective date of registration? What is the effective date of registration? What is the effective date of registration? What is the effective date of registration if the application for registration has not been submitted within 30 days from the date of the liability? What is the effective date of registration? What is the effective date of registration? Yes, date of grant of certificate, registration certificate, date of the grant of the certificate, not date of liability, Raghavan, not the date of the liability. Because if we give the date of the liability, he would be benefited. Why? Because we will give the ITC benefit from the date of the liability, which we don't like to give. Because he has not made the application within 30 days. So we will give some penalty. We have to penalize that person. How? Make the effective date on the date of the grant of the certificate. Fine? Great. We have discussed two categories of the amendment. One, we have discussed two categories of the amendment. First, tell me, what are the two categories of the amendment? 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 Sir, any supplier is not registered in the GST, then anyone can purchase. Obviously, why not? So you mean to say, Sanjay, you mean to say a registered person can't do the business. Suppose I have started the shop and I'm supplying the goods. My turnover is below threshold limit. I can make the supply still. Still, I can make the supply. What is the problem? Only point that I will not collect the tax. I will not issue the tax invoice. That's it. Core and non-core field. Core and non-core field. Can you tell me there is a rule 21 which talks about the multiple situation in which the proper officer can cancel the registration? We have discussed that proper officer can cancel the registration on such provision, on contravention of the such provision as may be prescribed, for which we have discussed the rule 21. Rule 21 giving the list of the compliances of which not complied and of contravention of the same will be liable to the cancellation. Can you tell me any what will do purchase? What will do purchase? And what will do purchase? Question is not clear, Sanjay. Ask the full question in one shot. We'll give the reply. This is the last question. We have discussed rule 21 in which multiple compliances was there. Contravention of the same can be attracted to the cancellation. Please tell me any one situation in which number can be cancelled. Please tell me any one situation, non-compliance of the same, in which non-compliance of the same or contravention of the same proper officer has the right to do the cancellation. No, I am talking about rule 21. I am talking about rule 21. Sakti, I am not talking about rule 10. Rule 10 we have already discussed 45 days for December. I'm requesting Sanjay Jaiswal. Please ask the question. Not clear. Second part is not clear. So please ask the question. This is my last question. Rule 21. List down the compliances. If one is contravening the same, registration can be cancelled by the proper officer. First, not doing the business from the declared place. Issuing the goods without invoice. Excellent. Non-furnishing of the return. Can you mention which period, Shreya? Can you please mention the period for which return is not furnished? Violating the provision of 10A, Rule 10A, 86B, Section 16. Wow. Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry. I thought that you are giving the bank rule 10A. Now clear. Sakti, you have given the first answer. Rule 10A now able to correlate. Violating the anti-profiteering provision. Issuing the invoice without submission. So fake invoice. Absolutely correct. The consecutive return filing failure in case correct compositions. Violating the rule 86B, okay, non-filing the return for 6 months in case of the regular proper officer at his own motion. Repeat answer to the second last question. Rule 21. What was the second last question? So categories of the registration, you're talking about there are two categories of the amendment to the registration, forfeit and non-forfeit. Thank you so much. In case of any doubt, please ask. I am waiting for 2 more minutes. Sir, my question is not completed. Sanjay, my question is not completed, but the GST compliances will purchase is dealer is not registered and there is no limit. I can do the any type of the purchase, any type of the goods or services can take from unregistered. There is no limit. Earlier there was a limit, which is now if you talk in the current date, there is no time limit. There is no threshold limit within which I have to. One thing is sure. If you are making the purchase of 20 lakh or 40 lakh from one person in the same financial year, then think that why he has not taken the registration. Can registered person issue non-tax invoice? No. Can registered person issue non-tax invoice? No. Answer is no. If he is making the exempted supplies, then 31 subsection 3 says that he should issue the bill of supply. Karthik, you can ask, but not in today class. Already we have 10 minutes over, so we'll discuss in the next class. Sakti, point E and point G, 7.61. Let me answer that. I think second time it is being asked. Point E, Sakti. In RCM, Sanjay, in RCM, see normally any transaction from unregistered to registered will not attract RCM. Earlier in the 2017 till 13th October 2017, there was concept of 9.4. That has been changed. In the current date, 9.4 is applicable only to the real estate sector. So now go to the 9.3. So in the 9.3, whether supplier is registered or unregistered, recipient has to pay the tax. So for the notified categories of the goods, for notified category of the services. So that will always come under RCM. Apart from that, there is no problem if someone is doing the business with unregistered party. Sanjay, clear? Sakti, clause E talking about if ITC has been taken by violating the provision of section 16. In the ITC chapter, we have discussed multiple conditions. There has to be the tax invoice. It should reflect in 2B. It has been added by the recipient in 3B likewise. So one has taken the ITC violating the provision of section 16, and second, clause G. Clause E violating the provision of Rule 86B. Sakti, again, this point is related to the ITC chapter. ITC chapter Rule 86B talk about that if your taxable supplies exceed 50 lakh, excluding exempted, excluding zero rated, 50 lakh exceed in a tax period, then 1% tax liability has to be discharged in cash, has to be paid in cash. 100% ITC not possible. 99% ITC can be used, 1% to be paid in cash. So if any person is violating the provision, not paying 1%, then his registration can be cancelled by the proper officer. Is it clear? But if a person cross threshold yet does not register, obviously he has to register. So is there any change in your answer? Not at all. Karthik, not at all. Answer is remain same. Any other doubt? And Sakti, kindly confirm your doubt is clear. Is still clear? Thank you so much. Good night to all of you. And अशोक जी, over to you. अशोक जी, अब हम कैंसिल हम क्लोज कर सकते हैं आज का सेशन, वाइंड अप कर सकते हैं सर. अशोक जी, आज का सेशन